All right, so now we are on the dashboard. Let's click on create workflow. And the workflow is going to just give us a blank workflow right here. All right, now we're finally in the n8n editor. This is where we're going to do all of the automation building. You can, of course, have templates in here. You can find templates and copy and paste them into here. But across the top, before we get into adding nodes, you'll see there are 3 tabs. There is the editor. That's where you really build everything out. You have executions, which is going to be every time you run something that'll show up right here, and evaluations, which should be helpful for debugging and stuff like that. So let's click on plus, and the first node is always going to be a trigger. The trigger is essentially what starts this workflow. So a workflow is going to be just a process of things happening that are automatic, and you could do this either just through basic logic, and then the second style is agentic, essentially having AI involved where that can have its own agency and make decisions and ultimately affect the output for you, and that's where a lot of the power is. Both are very valuable, but I think it's really beneficial to start off with the logic-based one, just so you have a better understanding of how n8n actually works. So we have our triggers. We could manually trigger it. We could have it on an app event. We could have it on a schedule. So maybe every morning, like tell me the news or something like that. It could be on a call. It could be on form submission. So you can have a form when somebody submits it with their name, their email, and I don't know, maybe like their annual income or whatever. And then you can categorize based on income or whatever you want to do, sort alphabetically. I don't know. There's a lot of different ways, and I recommend explore these as you start making more and more automations. You'll really start obviously using a lot more of these, and there's endless opportunities for how to set up your automation. So let's go with a manual trigger right now. Actually, let's go with the form submission. We're going to go with the form submission, click and drag that over. And this form, we'll copy this right now. I'll be using the URL in a minute. We can have authentication, so basic authentication or no authentication. I'll leave it as no authentication right now. We can have the title for this. So let's just say this is going to be petition form, and we can add our form element. So the first one, let's just say, what is your name, or just say first name. And this one's going to be text. We can add another form element. Maybe this is going to be last name, add another form element. This one could be phone number. And this is not just going to be text because it's a phone number. We're going to click the drop down, and we can select number. Would be a good one right here. So let's say number, and we can add another form element. And this one we could say email. The email, of course, could be text, but I think it's better to categorize that as email, as you can see right there. And then lastly, let's have a drop down that is going to be, let's say political party. And this can be a drop down list, and we have some options here. You'll see these are all fixed. We also have expression. I'll talk about expression later on once we get to some agentic stuff. And we can make that a required field. Of course, we can do that with all of them. We can make any of these required or not required. And then we have our form pretty much ready to go. So we could test it out by saying execute step. Execute step will bring us the form. I could test it out. So Ricky, Bobby, whatever. And this is required. So let's say Ricky Bobby is an independent. We'll say submit, and you'll see on the right side, the table is over there. A form was submitted. I can close it. And from here, we have several different ways we could view the data. Of course, table is probably the easiest to read this, but you can also see JSON is going to be more like code-based. So I think table is going to be easier for most people to interpret this to make sure it actually registered everything correctly. Now we can pin this. That's beneficial. So when we're kind of troubleshooting everything, we have this data set up. We don't have to do the workflow every time. So this step is good. Now we can go back to the canvas. All right, so we have our trigger set up. The next thing we can do is click on the plus here to add the next node. So the next node could really do a variety of things. It could be AI, as we're going to talk about later. It could be an action within an app. It could be a data transformation, so filtering, which we will do for this one. It could be a flow as well, so you could branch it, you could merge things together. So you could say, maybe we're going to separate each political party out and put them all on different lists, for example. So let's actually do that one first. Let's say branch. We'll do that with an if statement. So we'll click on if. Now for this one, you can see we have several different fields on the left side. Those are the ones that we created. I'm going to do political party. So let's click and drag political party over. And so if political party is equal to independent, we can say execute step. And this one went through as true and nothing went through as false. That's good. It's working. So let's say if it is true, if they are registered independent, maybe we want to send them an email or something like that. So if I click on plus, we can click on action in app, and there are so many other apps that connect to this. Searching is probably going to be your best bet, but just scrolling through, you can get a good idea of what is actually being connected right here. We're still in the letter A, so a lot of AWS stuff. You have, of course, you can do Brave, connect to Brave Search. There's Brevo for email campaigns. So maybe you want to set it up with Brevo right there. You have ClickUp. You've got, a ton of these CoinGecko. You can even do some crypto style stuff there. CrowdStrike is another really big one. DHL for shipping. So maybe you want to get a tracking number and you want to send that to somebody and set up your whole workflow like that. Dropbox for any kind of files. Maybe you're sharing with a team. Maybe when something's done, you want it to upload to Dropbox and then send an email to somebody and let them know that it's ready. I'm just gonna keep scrolling and showing you guys a lot of Google stuff as well. Google Sheets. Maybe we want to save this into Google Sheets. I think that's probably the easiest one that I think I will do. There's also high level right here. So if you're doing any kind of like CRM style stuff, you can have that in there. Just a ton of other things. MailChimp, more email campaign stuff there. Tons of apps. And you can see Microsoft apps down here as well. We're only at the letter M. You guys can scroll through your own list later and see, obviously this is getting added to very often. So a lot of stuff it's a growing list, and there already is an incredible amount of stuff here. Actually, for the sake of time, let's go with Airtable, just a little easier to connect. So I'm going to select Airtable and select create or update a record. If you're following along, you can make an Airtable account in a new tab if you don't already have one, and we need to connect it. So credential is what n8n uses when they refer to any kind of connection to another service. So usually that's like an API key is what you have to set up. So let's click on create new credential. We need an access token here. You can click on Open Docs and they'll walk you through how to connect many different services. And they have, a different document for pretty much every service out there. So we need an access token. If I go over to n8n here, I can click on, you just go to airtable.com/create/tokens. I can click on create token and we can name this token. So let's say test 1. And this is able to write maybe to our table. We're able to at least write. And now I can say create token. We can copy that token. And then over here on n8n, we can paste the token. We can save it. It says connection tested successfully. So now we're good to go. We have n8n connected to Airtable. So that's going to be great for writing over to the table. So let me close out of this. Now in Airtable, I just have a little demo right here. It's called contact management. And that's just a table. We have last name, first name, phone number, email, stuff like that, everything we need. So over here, we can say the base, we're going to select that table. So it's going to be contact management. Then we can select the contacts table. And the ID, the columns to match on could be ID. I'm actually going to match based on, let's say we're going to match based on email. We're going to go based on email. So I can click and drag that over, or actually we just click the drop down. Sorry, click on email. And then down here, we can click and drag all these over for everything else. So first name, we're going to click and drag first name over to here. The email, we're using the match. So that already makes sense. So let's click and drag email over to here. And then you just click and drag each of these over as we go through. So last name, phone number, political party. I'm just going to drag that over to here. And then I'm not going to do political party summary, and I'm not going to do contact sentiment analysis. Those are two other columns that we're not going to use right here. So we have everything here. Any other options, you can add other columns as well. Let's say execute step. It looks like it worked right there. And if we go back, we should see if I refresh my Airtable, it should be showing up here. There we go, Ricky Bobby on the bottom. And we have, of course, everything I entered. So we've got the name. We have political party should be over here. Where's political party? Independent. They're listed as independent. And I didn't fill out all the other fields when I submitted the form. So it makes sense that those are blank. That looks like this is working. So that is our first workflow that we're going to set up with n8n.